We're in the middle of a beautiful video game renaissance on the big screen, so could Five Nights at Freddy's follow in the same footsteps as something like the Super Mario Bros. Movie? No, it cannot. Let's talk about what went wrong. So before I absolutely dig into this thing, let me just say there are some parts about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie I really did like. The animatronics themselves were well built. They were faithful to the source material and fun to watch. I also thought the set design of Freddy Fazbear's pizza was lifelike and believable. Matthew Lillard was awesome. The final 30 minutes of the movie had me the most entertained. But as an overall cinematic experience, this ain't it, Chief. While this movie does do the game's story justice, it also makes some weird decisions that ultimately make it more boring than entertaining. Yikes, number 1. Too much exposition. There's a ton of story in this thing, which isn't bad, but it's how that story is told that rubs me the wrong way. For example, we watch the same scene with a group of kids at least 5 times over the course of the movie. Little to no details are added each time. Meanwhile, massive plot points are explained through dialogue. Five Nights at Freddy's had a tendency to tell, not show. If there's a big reveal you're hyped to find out about, chances are the characters will spell it out instead of us getting clever visual clues. This treats the audience like they're 12 years old and can't figure things out themselves, which, okay, maybe that's true for some of the fans here. But you can still have a decent kids horror movie that doesn't talk down to its viewer. Yikes, number 2, the day scenes. Five Nights at Freddy's has 2 major scene categories, day and night. The day is slower, meant for developing characters into their relationships, which would be cool if any of their stories actually paid off. Like, there's this whole thing about Mike losing custody of his sister, where his snarky aunt can take her instead. Spoiler alert, there's no real resolution. That plot ends with all the bad guys getting killed. On a surface level, sure, it's fun to watch, but it's also not a satisfying payoff to the setup throughout the movie. In that way, it felt like most day scenes were pointless, like they were only there to fill up time. Yikes, number 3, comedy or horror. FNAF didn't know what it wanted to be. Not exactly. Sometimes it was a full-on comedy with characters having corny jokes to make light of a dark situation. Sometimes there were violent murders where people got cut in half. Comedy horror can work, but I feel like the way this movie kept changing the tone just made it confusing. It wasn't scary enough where it could be considered a full-on horror movie, and it wasn't funny enough where you could call it a comedy. While playing both sides, it somehow ended up being neither. But overall, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie has fan service galore and a bunch of small fun moments sprinkled into its nearly 2-hour runtime. But even if you're a hardcore fan of the franchise, it's hard to defend some of the decisions they took with the story and pacing. As an adaptation of the game, it gets things right. As a movie though, it's just kinda boring. Oh well, maybe the inevitable sequel will be a little better. But anyway, that's all for this video. Subscribe for more awesome cartoon videos. Give a thumbs up and comment below to let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.